Hi Mohammed, I just wanted to give you a quick critique of this animation. It's off to a good start, but a few things I wanted to address. So having a look here in Flipbook, let's just scroll through this. Mostly, my main critiques are to do with the poses. I mean, I would suggest taking this chair and turning it around a bit more. So if at the moment it's 3/4 on, I would just turn it so that it's a little bit more side on. That way, all your actions that are currently a little bit soft and not very well silhouetted at the moment in 3/4 become a bit stronger because they're side on to you. So, for example, we can take this pose. This is the main one I'm particularly interested in adjusting and making this more pronounced. It also means that you can sort of, it would also be good to have his head tilted back. I should probably make a different color. Anyway, by the way, this black chair shouldn't be a problem for you anymore. I've changed that to the shader will turn up and should be white in this particular viewing mode. I notice you've started it off down here. That's not really what we intended. Really, it needs to come from somewhere where it can't be seen, and it needs to be coming from around here, I guess. So let's go to where he grabs it. Yeah, I mean, one way or another, I would suggest you need to bring it from behind here, because it doesn't just sit here, ever. This belt here is not his gun holster. This underneath his arm is the gun holster. But it doesn't have to literally be attached to that gun holster. It could just be that it just sits behind him there, because really what we don't want is to have the gun just sitting there idly throughout the sequence and all the shots where he's not using it. So it's much better to just put it behind him over here. So what's the best way to approach that? I agree, we do want to end up using his reverse arm because it just makes a nicer shape, but it could be that he goes to pull this out and he does that, or it could be that. It's tricky, isn't it? I suppose the other possibility is that we don't use his reverse arm, that we go from here to there using his right arm. Well, he's using his right arm at the moment, yeah. Okay, let me think about that one. I'll put a note in it later. But basically, it does have to come from somewhere we can't see it. We can't put it here because then we've got to worry about all the other shots and where it's going to be in all the other shots and how it got there and why is it attached to his belt, which is not a holster. So that's one thing to look at. Then, I mean, basically, we just want to get into a nicer pose here. So a bit more concerted. And the other thing I want to address is this here. I would really like to see the silhouette of that wand. So in other words, literally, if you can, end it like more side on initially if you have to, just for a moment, so that we get a flash of that perfect silhouette. He can then adjust it back into a more comfortable position. It's just that right now you don't know what he's holding. It's just this thing, this blob. So bring it up so that he can, I've got a remote here, and let's see if I can do this in the reverse for you. Bring it up so that he does initially hold it like that, and that you can correct to this if you want to, but he does initially have to hold like that, just so that we can see him. Now what else have we got? Then the other thing to bear in mind is that he is firing at one of these guys. Now the first one who pops up is this guy down here, so really fire his beam, get a nice pose, and then bring that arm down so that by the time we're actually pointing at the we can see the peeps. Make sure that his arm is in line with that, or at the very least it could be that the remote points down a little bit so that we can see the beam will go straight to the peep there. The zoom in might be a little bit extreme actually. I mean, perhaps what you can do is already start to zoom in here, and then yeah, actually the amount we're in here is probably good because it gives us a good view of them, but what I'd like you to do if possible is perhaps start the zooming just a little bit earlier so that we don't go roof all in one separate action. It should feel like we scroll and zoom, if you see what I mean, rather than scroll, lock, zoom, lock sort of thing. Okay, right, then when you're over here, that's good. It just kind of, the beam goes a little bit off screen, which is quite good actually, and forces the camera to readjust. That one then comes into view nicely. I would suggest giving the camera just a little bit of life here so that it's not completely locked. For example, what could happen is that, go back here, we go here, it readjusts, and we're slightly more this way, just a little, and then that way when this one comes up, the camera could adjust and go slightly more up that way to reframe to where they currently are now. The drift is pretty good. Beam comes down, they go and do the thing. If you have any more frames of that animation, I would just make the shot a little bit longer so that we can see that play out, just so that we've got a bit more flexibility about how we use that in the edit. And that's all of that basically.